You might recognize this face or this name because Francis has been on the show before, and he is back today to share with us some new insights and wisdom. You know, as entrepreneurs, we're all on this evolution and always evolving, and we're excited to hear new insights from Francis today. He is an email copywriter, most known for his freelance business, Stories and Copy, done for you email marketing service for e-commerce, business, and coaches. But now his work has taken a more global turn with his rapidly growing travel email newsletter, the Nomad newsletter, a semi-weekly publication where he shares the latest news on digital nomadism, freelance work, nomad destinations, and it features digital nomads creating awesome businesses all around the world. So naturally, we got to talk about that, man. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know that was a bit of a mouthful of a bio, but yeah, thank you for trucking through that. I'm so happy to be here again.
Helpful. All those keywords, as you know, as copywriters, like it's helpful for listeners and us as well to kind of frame, you know, where you're coming from, right? So you've done copywriting and a lot of email newsletters, and now we're transitioning into more of a passion project, but something that you can run with. So before we get into the Nomad things, before we wander over there, how did this come to be? What inspired this evolution or this pivot for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the story, it honestly kind of came kind of abruptly in a way. I mean, I know last year, I think I was probably on your podcast and speaking to your group around this time last year. And you know, over that time, the business scaled, you know, worked with a lot of really great clients all over the place, 6, 8, 9-figure businesses. And it was really cool. You know, went to Mexico and for like the better, like half of the pandemic. I think I know you're there right now. So yeah, super jealous, by the way. But yeah, I know. I'm wearing like 6 layers right now. It's insane. And yeah, I mean, really, I was working super hard and it was going really well. But then a little bit of it was like, okay, so the business is going well. I'm making money. I love writing, but like, is this it? Like, did I reach the pinnacle? And, you know, I dabbled with making the agency thing because I was told that's what, you know, I had to do. That's at least what my mentors were doing, you know, when they were going from freelance copywriter to, you know, the next step for them who's agency owner. And I did that and I absolutely disliked it. And so I scaled back down a little bit, but then, you know, I was working with more clients and more clients and more clients, and I was just burned out, you know. I mean, around June and July, I was just blitzed with burnout. You know, I couldn't even look at my laptop without like without wanting to, you know, vomit. It was like really horrible. And then, and then in late July and early August, what happened was I took a month off, semi-month off. I was working with 1 or 2 of my clients. I scaled down. I was working with around 8 or 9, 10, or somewhere around there. And I brought it down all the way to around 3 or 4. But during that break, I only worked with 1 or 2. And I was speaking with my mindset coach at the time. And I was like, Linda Perry, by the way, she's a fantastic mindset coach if anybody wants an awesome reference. But I was like, you know, we went through your training and everything, and I'm kind of burned out and I'm kind of lost. You know, she asked me, you know, midway through our mentorship, you know, Francis, what do you want to be known for? And I think when she asked that question, I didn't really know. And I think that added to the burnout because I was just incredibly confused. It was like,
of course,
I don't want to be Francis, the email marketer. You know, I love doing it. I'm good at it, but I wouldn't say it's my passion. But I remember during that break, during my burnout, I was like, sitting on the couch reading some articles, and I read the story of how Sam Parr, the creator of the Hustle newsletter, which is a big business and tech newsletter, you know, he just sold his newsletter for $18 million. And I wasn't like, oh, I want to start a newsletter and sell it for $18 million. But I was like, well, you know, there are these different kinds of newsletters out there. I have a friend who's doing one for the NBA. I know someone who's doing one for Opera. And I was like, why don't I create a newsletter? I already write emails based around something I really love to do, which is travel, digital nomadism. So, and I was like, I think, oh yeah, exactly. I love it too. I love telling the story because I was just sitting there on the couch and I was like, why don't I just do that? It clicked. And so,
It clicked.
Yeah,
And I want to pause for a second here because I think there's like really important lessons for anyone who knows they're burnt out, or the more sneaky burnout are like hitting a plateau or aren't excited or are like numbing out at night with like Netflix and wine instead of being excited about your business. That like these two really pivotal questions for you. Number one, what do you want to be known for? Right? Because as business owners, especially around like year 3 to 5, I find so many of us are like kind of outgrowing the pants that we built, and it's kind of time to like get some new pants and like take a look at what we've been wearing and how we got here. So what do you want to be remembered for? And then what strengths do you already have that you can plug into that bigger vision for yourself? Because for me, like I started my business with strengths of mindset coaching, health coaching, like coaching, life coaching, right? And then that evolved. And so at my 3-4 year mark, I had to look and be like, oh, I'm not just coaching. Like for me, it was taking a look at like, I'm writing, I'm marketing, I'm doing these other things. And so I wanted to just like double down on that, because I know people listening can look at their own life and their own business and decide, what do I want to be known for? And what strengths can I start to lean into more? So we're excited. Yeah. We're on the couch. We have this aha moment, Francis, digital nomad writing.
Yeah. And
what happened?
Yeah. So basically the start of it kind of came out of like, that's how it was. I was on the couch and I thought about it. I tried to inspire myself more of like, well, is this kind of like, will people even read this? Are people interested? And then I remembered, I was like, yeah, well, my friend writes a newsletter for the NBA and he just does like stats. It's not even, a lot of narrative. It's just like NBA stats. And then, I know someone who has one for just the opera. I mean, who reads about opera, but she has 1,000, 2,000 subscribers. And I was like, well, Francis, you're already good at email marketing. You already know how to run an ESP. The travel and, remote work is a hot topic right now. Not necessarily a hot topic, but people want to know how to do it. So just run with it. Like, who cares? If no one reads it, then like, screw it. But then, I looked up on Facebook and I looked up digital nomads and freelance and remote work. And, there's groups with 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people in it. So I was like, well, that's my target right there. Those are my people. If I can get 30,000 people in in this newsletter in a year or something, that'd be really cool. I'm not sure if I have that goal in terms of subscribers, but I connected with a guy named Chad Wyatt who runs a kind of a job board Facebook group. And I remember a year ago, I befriended him and he only had like 500 people in his group. And now he has like 30,000. And he's like, yeah, man, it's a big topic. Like, just write it. Who knows what can happen. So yeah, after that, I bought the domain, contacted my ESP assistant, was like, hey, we're going to do this. I signed up to a bunch of newsletters, listened to some podcasts, just trying to see what else is out there. And just ran with it. I was like, I'm just going to make this like a newspaper, a newsletter, and just put out, things that nomads are doing, which I, over the last year too, I spoke on several podcasts, including yours that, were for people who were into remote work and especially digital nomads. So, and, looking back, hindsight's always 2020. It's like, it made sense. Most of the podcasts I've been on over the last year were kind of digital nomad and travel podcasts. So, and I already, had kind of some leeway in that. So yeah, and that's just how it started.
Yeah. And this is what I love about entrepreneurs, Francis. It's like, we have learned enough that it doesn't, like, for example, if you put a successful entrepreneur on a remote island with no cell phone, no whatever, like, they would figure it out. They would make something out of nothing because you've learned a lot of these things that you just did naturally in the other businesses you've built, right? Like, get clarity, find that North Star, then start to find the people who are doing it, get that inspiration, see what's possible, and then just go claim it and say, here I am now. This is the next project that I'm going to own. So let's talk about this, because you're right. There are so many people that listen to this podcast and lots of other groups that you and I are both a part of, where people are inspired, curious, and really interested in this digital nomad lifestyle. It's funny, when I started my business, it was like a marketing thing. Like, look at me working from anywhere. And now it's like, here we all are working from anywhere.
Yeah.
So I would love to talk a little bit about how people can not just like take work anywhere, but actually be fulfilled and make great money while living the kind of lifestyle, especially enjoying travel that they desire. So I know we talked about this a little bit, but kind of going through like what it actually takes. What is the step-by-step process that you teach digital nomads, that you've gone through yourself, to be happy and fulfilled as a digital nomad?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, there's a whole lot of steps to it. With my kind of upcoming book, I kind of condensed it to about 6 steps that for me kind of encompassed my journey. I think the first thing that I think, and as any successful entrepreneur, business owner, even just anyone who is devoted to any type of goal, is just to make that commitment. I went into digital nomadism, into really moving and living abroad. I lived in Spain previously to previously than Budapest. I just like, I want to do this. Like, I might suck, I might not even get a job, but I want to make this happen. And I kind of, with that belief, then whatever that goal you have, it's going to come true, whether it's kind of, 6 months or 6 years down the line. It might sound a little cliche, but I think when you're like, hey, this is going to be the thing I want to do, then it's out there. And once you kind of have that mindset, it's weird how things start coming up, and you start seeing job opportunities.
Law of attraction 101.
Yeah, all the traction, the law of attraction. And then, you follow upon people like, your podcast, or you learn about the Nomad newsletter, or you read a book like Nomadic and Happy, my upcoming one, and you're like, oh, there's possibilities out there to do this. So I think, trying to make that commitment, and, alongside my next step, which is to, kind of obsess over having a good mindset and mental health, then those are like the 2 biggest points, which is why it's always number 1 and 2 in my book.
Yes. And I'm so glad that number 1 is decide, choose, commit, because it sounds simple. It's like, yeah, of course I want this thing, but you have to literally kill off all other options. Like, truly decide and commit. There's no plan B, C, D. Like, this is what I'm going to have for my life. And of course, the how works itself out. But if you decide to be someone who's going to work remote or live in Mexico, like, it took me 3 years of like reworking the plan, but I was like so decided that whether I was working for myself or someone else or here or there, like, I really wanted this. And I think too often it took me 3 years because I second guessed it. And it was like, maybe it should be this way. Maybe I should. And it's like really deciding, I want to double down on that, because you have to kill off all other decisions. Otherwise you're swayed with the wind. COVID could have swayed me so easily. Business ups and downs could have swayed me. Language, like, there's so many things that could have talked me out of it. So that's huge and not as easy as it sounds, but absolutely critical. So let's talk about mindset, because that's how you really like stick to it, right?
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing with the mindset is kind of, it's always a funny thing. It's probably one of the most cliche chapter 1, chapter 2 things in any book or in any step or any course. God knows I've seen many, like, I've been in many courses where mindset's the first part, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know this. And I invested a whole lot in a mindset coach.
It's the thing you always need. Like, the cliches are true because they work.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And with that kind of mindset of like, I'm just going to go all into this, kind of burning all of my bridges. I think that's the phrase to use in this situation where, when I first moved abroad, I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to get the one-way ticket. I'm going to get this job in Barcelona and just see if it works. And when I started freelancing and as a copywriter, I told my teaching, my boss, that it's like, hey, I want to do this. Like, you can I want to quit or you can fire me. And I couldn't do either because I was under contract. So I had to stay like half the year as a part-timer, but just being like, I'm going to make this commitment to making this happen. And really believing myself that it's going to happen. Kind of, there's no plan B or plan C, that this is plan A. And with that kind of it sounds nice, but of course it sucks at times. You're gonna, you maybe if you travel, you're gonna run into a bad hostel or bad people, or when you start your career, you're gonna be writing $5 blog posts like I was for my first 6-7 months, and you're like, this kind of sucks, really,
Well,
actually.
yeah. If you
So,
decide to travel and be an entrepreneur, good luck having set plans for anything,
oh yeah,
right? Like, I think
right.
that's part of the reason why they go so well together, because as you're traveling, it's always like, if you're on the go, right? It's so much of like learning new, being on your toes, being adaptable, changing, like being receptive to like what's happening in your environment. And that's exactly what the job of an entrepreneur is to do too, right? We don't just sit in one place and have everything work out perfectly. It's definitely been a big lesson for me. And like part of my mindset that I've had to stretch and grow is that, yeah, you want to set the plan and have the intention, but if you're a digital nomad running your own business, like finding the delight in the surprises, not the obstacles, but finding delight in those surprises that can open up pathways you didn't even know you weren't on. And maybe I do want to hop over to that set of plans. So that's huge I'm glad you're bringing that up.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, one thing to kind of keep in mind in regards to entrepreneurship and travel and maybe just life experiences in general that I've learned like over the last year is kind of creating your own idea of success and just saying screw you to anyone who says it's not right, or like that's not the step that you should be having. I had that with with work and thinking, oh, I have to be an agency, even though I'm not an agency owner. I'm not that incredibly well organized. And even though I'm an extrovert, I don't really like managing people. I'm a true creative. I love writing and I love traveling, and that's what I want to do. I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there. They're like, I'm here to build a business and scale it, and I want to work 8, 9, 10, 11 hours a day, and that's totally cool if that fulfills you. And for me, it was just important to kind of be more specific with what made me really happy. And it took a long time. I mean, I was, when I signed on a client in July, and I was just burning myself out, and people were like, are you happy? I'm like, yeah, I'm super happy. I wasn't happy. And I just thought because I was working with a cool client that I, should be happy. But that's a mindset thing. You kind of have to be clear that you can create your own kind of success, whatever that is. I mean, heck, maybe digital nomadism and traveling as an entrepreneur isn't your description of happiness. I mean, if you like working a 9 to 5 and kind of being in a stable place, that's really cool too. But it just adds to your mindset even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And experience really helps decide and color and shape that, I think. So we've got number 1, decide. Number 2, tune into that mindset and really understand like what success means to you, and then do the work to believe in that and allow that to be possible for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Number
definitely.
3.
And number 3 is it gets more businessy here. It's just to discover that high income skill set. I think that's such a big thing that a lot of people just tapped into over the last year. Especially now, just reading articles about the quote unquote great resignation. People are trying to figure out, how they can make money online, what kind of businesses are out there. And I think this may be maybe one of the more difficult steps, just because there are so many things out there that you can do. Maybe you're really good at managing a store, but should it be an e-commerce store? Should it be Amazon FBA? Maybe you're a really good writer. Should you be a copywriter, a ghostwriter, content writer? And even then, as you know, Hannah, being a copywriter is different kinds of verticals and mediums to write copy, Facebook ads, YouTube ad scripts, emails, sales pages. But that's one of the things that kind of you need to test out and kind of trust your instinct in. I knew for me, writing was my main thing. So that's when I dove into SEO at first. Failed at that. I didn't really fail. I just didn't know, what the heck I was doing, and fell into copy, luckily. But then, even then, I was writing sales pages and content articles and things like that. It took me a few months to a year, I think, to
Yeah.
really niche down and be like, oh, I want to write emails. I want to be an email copywriter. So
Yeah. And for
once
a
you
lot
find
of
that skill
folks,
set, it's
yeah, for a
hard.
lot of folks listening to this, you have a sense of those things that you shine at, that you're great at, that you're an expert in. And I think we've had the opportunity to look at how we can do that in scalable ways and sustainable ways from the beach, the kind of digital nomad dream. And so I think this goes back to conversations we've been having the last several weeks, I feel like, on this podcast, is like letting go of your ego for a second of what you're doing or how you're going to do it or what your path is to get to your goals. Take a step back and start to survey the things that are already working for you. So often we can find that high demand, high income skill set based on our past experiences. You guys have heard me talk about this. This is how I realized I needed to move into content marketing and copywriting, is because all my coaching clients, that's what they needed. And that's what I was actually spending my time on, like giving them feedback on their content. So it really is like setting the ego aside, putting on some new glasses, a fresh lens to look at things you're already doing that other people would pay you for, pay you more for, pay you differently for, right?
Yeah. I mean, it can be so difficult. I mean, I know some people who are still finding their kind of like their skill set, and kind of going into the next point, which is to to find that niche and to solve a specific problem. That's something that I think is almost ever changing with many entrepreneurs. I know one coach here in Budapest, and he's German, and he's very big into productivity. And I think over the last few years that I've known him, he's changed his niche. He's changed the problem that he's trying to help solve, from like being a breakthrough coach to helping freelancers have a better mindset. And now he's working with agency owners and their productivity. But once you kind of find that niche that you really enjoy, you're like, okay, I like writing about this type of content, or I like writing this type of copy, or coaching these kind of people to reach this specific goal, then it's magical. It really is, and that's kind of when with the Nomad, the newsletter, I had that moment where I was like, I don't know any other digital nomad newsletters out there. I paid $80 for one to do research, and I found out they don't send any emails. And it's from a big like digital nomad site, and I was like, oh, I'm so disappointed actually. But that kind of gave me like more inspiration. I was like, this is a big problem. Let's just create this.
Yeah.
But that's like such a huge step, because then you can have a lot of fun with it, I think, too, kind of testing out different offers and different clients. And that's when your business is being made. And that's kind of like the another kind of difficult part of it, because there's so many nuances and different paths you can go through trying to create your own offer and services. But it's that's your business. It's important.
Yeah. And I know you're putting this out in a book, and I would encourage folks to go get the book and don't wait until you have the book. Like, so often this is where people get in analysis paralysis, where it's like, I'm gonna do market research. Great. I'm going to ask a bunch of people. Great. I'm going to think about it. Okay. Less great, because it really comes in, like I've said this so many times before, hitting the sidewalk, getting in action, working with a few clients one-on-one, especially when you're building a new offer, to figure out like, what is their real problem? What is the thing you actually do? Do you even like it? Before going out and like painting the billboard of like, I'm this today. I really recommend getting into action and talking to real people that you like, people you want to work with, people that you enjoy coaching or writing for, doing your thing. And know that so often the niche can find itself when you're in strategic action. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's so many niches out there that their problems aren't being solved. I think one thing as a copywriter, over the beginning of the year till now, I was doing a lot of YouTube ad scripts, which is different from emails, because everyone's using YouTube now, and just kind of running into different clients of all the stuff that they're doing and what kind of problems are being solved. I thought it was insane. I know I worked with a guy who helped guys, quit porn, and there was another company that helped them make like vegetables at home so they can sell it. And think, at the local farmers market and things like this. And I was like, you need the YouTube ads for this? This is crazy, and everything from like singing to, learning how to play piano. There's so many.
There's a niche
really
for
cool.
everything. The craziest one I heard this week was farmers selling mindset to farmers in Ireland. Like
Wow.
There you go.
You can't get any more niche than that. I feel like there's only
And it was like farming mindset, like how to be a great farmer. Yeah. In Ireland. So I think that's another great example of when you start looking in step 2 around like the mindset of what's possible, where do I want to go, what do I want? You can glean a lot from what other people are doing and what they're not doing. So
yeah, exactly.
Finding that niche and that problem, huge. Cool.
Yeah, and and kind of in that point as well is to get paid, and of course that's what we all want, is to get paid and and make money. And there's so many ways to going about that. Retainers, to commission, to pay me if I reach this goal and things like this. I actually go through that pretty deeply into into Nomadic and Happy. I don't have a landing page for that, so if someone currently, so if somebody is interested, join the Nomad newsletter, because more information will come out on that pretty soon. But I've discovered different ways to get paid, because I was taking on all these clients, and I was like, maybe I'll just have these weird conversations where I'm like, I can get paid for a lot of money if I reach a certain goal that I know that I can reach, but maybe they're skeptical about. But and that that's like point number, I think, 4 in the book. And number 5 is to network with amazing people, and I think that's, there you go. Hannah's there.
We're doing it right now. Yeah.
Hannah's photo is going to be in this chapter of the book, I think. But actually, I would love to have you in there.
Out of that ridiculous face I made if you're watching on video.
But I think that's one of the craziest things is when you fall upon a network with really supportive people. And you kind of, you don't just hang out with copywriters, or you just don't hang out with coaches. You're like loaded with so much inspiration and referral work as
people
well,
make things happen. This is a mistake I made when I first started out. I thought I had to find a tool or a gadget or some I had to make something of a business or of a career, of whatever. And when I learned that people make things happen, it totally transformed the way I structure my business, the way I interact with people, the way I think. And so, especially if you're a solopreneur, thinking about who, not how, who can help you get there? Who has that answer? Who can get you a referral instead of how do I? Because that is what led to so much of my burnout, is thinking I had to figure it all out when there's people like Francis who want to come and talk about digital nomad. And there's people that want to join my team to do the things that I don't want to do. So I love network. It's another cliche because it's true and it's timeless and it always has worked.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when it's always funny because I mention this to people, especially aspiring freelancers, up and coming freelance copywriters. And they're like, Francis, how do you get work? I'm like, honestly, with my network. And that's something that people told me when I started out. And I'm like, you know what the hell are you talking about? Your network? What's the magic pill? What's the secret? There's the secret, right?
Do you have to show up with a stuffy briefcase and do awkward cheese and crackers? And is that my network? Those events that I used to go to. Yeah. So what is it? So what is
friends?
Friends.
I mean, for me, it's just friends, really. I mean, I think especially in the solopreneur space, that one thing, a lot of us work really hard and we want that connection and we want that support and we like giving that support and as well as receiving it. But the people in your network, they have their own network. So it's like, if you need work, it's crazy how these conversations can come up when next you know you have an email in your inbox and someone needs you.
Totally.
Or they you share something on Facebook, you post something on Facebook and it's shared. And next thing you know, you have 20, 30, 40 people subscribe to your newsletter, or joining your Facebook group or something like
Yep.
that. So,
And this
it's
is what
just
it
fun.
looks like in practice for me. So you guys, I haven't talked about this in a while, but the rule of 5 is something I got from one of my first mentors, Jack Canfield, which is reaching out to 5 people a day, because you have people in your circle. Like this can be your neighbor. This is like not even like strategic 5 people a day when you're starting. You start out talking to 5 people a day with this sentence phrase. Who do you know who? Hey, neighbor next door, who do you know who could wash my house or wash my car? Who do you know who is a coach? Who do you know who has a business, has a podcast, has a Facebook group? So you can start to expand, because I know when you first start out, it's like, my friends are entrepreneurs. Who do they know who? Everyone write that down, use that this week, and then hit 5 DMs a day and watch what Francis just said happen. People come back to you, people show up at your front door and in your inbox.
Yeah. And you can just be, you may think you're annoying or something, and I guarantee you're not annoying. I mean, I just got asked to be a speaker at Digital Nomad Week in December, and we're in a Slack group, and the Slack group, like, I don't think I signed an NDA, so I can say it, but it's not like the most active Slack group in the world. But I went in there and it was just like, I did a @channel, so like literally everyone got this message, because I was decided to be annoying, and was like, hey, I'm Francis. This is what I do. I run a newsletter. Would love to feature you. And all of a sudden, this like somewhat dead Slack group was like firing off with like a bunch of people being like, oh, I'd love to be featured in your newsletter. Can you send it over to me? Do you have an archives page? And just like that, I am kind of rubbing shoulders with Nomadic Matt, who's had like this travel blog for 12 years. Rolf Potts, who wrote Vagabonding, like a big travel book, like when was it, 20 years ago, I think. And there's so many things out there, and there's so many people who can help
love
you.
to help people. Absolutely. Yeah. So network is number 5. Where is our final number 6 step here?
Yeah. The number 6 is to find great coaching and mentoring, and I think that's, for me, it's so important, and it can be tricky to find like a good mentor that you like and likes you and that you trust and things like that. But once you do, it's magic. I mean, I worked with Linda Perry, who is a fantastic mindset coach for copywriters and solopreneurs. And I spent like $4,000 to work with her, and it was the greatest like mentorship ever. And that's just with my mindset. I invested a lot of money and time with copywriting coaches to help me as a copywriter, and just business coaches help me with my business. And some of them are like kind of all together. So, and just to have that guidance is crucial.
Yeah. Maybe at the beginning you need a business coach, then you need a human design coach, then you need a relationship coach. I was listening to another podcast this morning where the woman said the world would be such a different place if everyone just had one coach. And I think that's so true. Yeah. Like we would be more in tune, we would be emotionally aware, we would be doing what lights us up instead of what we have to do. And I think that's really what permission you're giving people to do as well here. Like step into your zone of genius, own your gifts and your strengths, and do it in the way that you want to do it, like finding those examples and leaning into that big vision you have for yourself, whether that's digital nomadism, which we highly recommend, or it's not. I think there's so many pillars that we can build upon with what you just talked about. Number 1, like deciding what you want, committing, no plan B. Number 2, tapping into your mindset and knowing what it's going to take to keep you on the path and to see failure as opportunity and to just, keep staying committed to your number 1 decision. The number 3, finding your high-end skill set and recognizing what you can monetize, what people will pay you for and you enjoy. And then number 4, you talked about finding the niche in the problem. So really making that connection out in the market landscape of who can you help, what problems do you solve with your skill set. Number 5, network, it works. Number 6, getting mentorship. Woo! I hope I didn't just write your book for you, but that is so good. That is so good. And like I said, lessons and pillars that people can really lean on for lots of goals, whether it's to be like us or to be different than us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think these are pretty good principles to just, in regards to like doing anything in life.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, I think these 6 steps are probably just in the makings of this book and the last few months in the makings of this newsletter. So yeah,
Amazing.
principles for
And
sure.
it aligns 100% with making your dream life your real life. So I'm so glad that you got to share that with us. So for folks who are with you, they want to work the steps, they want to be a digital nomad, how can they get your newsletter? Where can they go?
Yeah, you can get my newsletter at thenomadnewsletter.com. It's just simple landing page right there. Right now, I'm working on the design of the book. Otherwise, I'd probably have a landing page up. And yeah, I email my list every Monday and Friday with the latest the latest news I've found in digital nomadism, podcasts as well as this one, and cool business owners doing cool stuff, just like Hanna. So you can find me there.
Nomadnewsletter.com, right? Or Nomad Newsletter.
Okay. Thenomadnewsletter.com. Yeah.
Okay, we'll make sure we got all the links in the show notes here so folks can jump on over, subscribe, and continue this conversation, making their nomad dreams, making their business dreams, making their life dreams become a reality. Thank you, Francis. I'll be back next week with more inspiration and insight to help you keep making that dream life your real life.